Well, the mics are back on, and this is Radio Entrepreneurs. My name is Jeffrey Davis. I'm the host of Radio Entrepreneurs and also the founder of MAGE LLC, management consulting firm. I've been pretty excited through all these interviews because we are at Maggiano's Little Italian restaurant, Little Italy restaurant in downtown Boston, because we're being sponsored by BGU University, American Ben-Gurion University, because we are going to talk about entrepreneurship. And our next guests are Rubinstein and Kevin Leopold of BGU University. Welcome, guys. You know,
Thanks.
So many Americans have never heard of BGU University. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about it so we know the context, because this is a major university, correct? And a major
Correct.
research university as well.
Yes.
Well, this year the university is turning 50 years old. It's Israel's youngest university and fastest growing. We have 20,000 students. We have campuses in Beersheba, the main campus, and also 45 minutes south in Sde Boker, where we have the graduate programs for environmental research and Israel studies. And we have a campus in Eilat. And this is a really exciting time for us because we are building an advanced technologies park adjacent to our main campus in Beersheba. So we're creating high-tech jobs so we can keep the graduates in the area and help develop the region.
Now, these are similar problems that Americans are facing with cities like Boston, and you're addressing them maybe a little bit more advanced than we are in Boston because you have a smaller geographic area to deal with. Moving around the United States is a little bit easier and friendlier than it is in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, explain to us why this is so important, and why is this school, which is outside of the major city centers, so important and important to Americans?
The university was established with a special mandate to develop the Negev region. The Negev is 60% of Israel's lands, but only 9 or 10% of the population live there. So it's only an hour train ride from Tel Aviv, but it's considered in the periphery. So this is significant because it's putting Beersheba on the map, and now it's becoming a must-see when people visit Israel, and to be part of all this growth and excitement.
Building of a nation.
Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to say is that it's the only university in Israel that actually has a mandate to develop the region that it's in. You know, a lot of people will say that if you take BGU out of Beersheba, you won't have the community there that you need in order for life to thrive. So BGU is really like the community development organization of the entire Negev region.
You know, I think that's a really important point, Eve, and I hadn't thought about that before, because I know a lot of people are trying to ride that Beersheba train and say that they're doing investment in Beersheba, but if they left, I don't know if everybody would notice, but if the university left, there wouldn't be a Negev being built. And the Negev is an important part of establishing a peaceful and long-term future for Israel and its citizens.
Right. Well, it's uncontested territory.
Right.
And as Kevin said, about 10% of the population lives there and growing. But so importantly is that the IDF recognizes the importance of being there, and they've just moved a lot of their
facilities.
IT departments down there. So that
I was
they can
there. I was at
share.
the base a year ago. It's quite outstanding.
It is outstanding.
It's really something. Now, just another part to this. You know, Americans might be thinking, why would BGU be important to us? But Americans do go to BGU. As an example, can you give some of the scientific work that's being done there? Because I know Americans are giving substantial donations to the university, but not just in terms of scientific advancements, but there are other advancements as well. There's 2 medical schools, right?
Right,
So
right.
could you just give us a little bit of background on that as well?
We, as you said, have 2 medical schools. One is a
One
school
for stupid people like me.
Right.
One is taught in Hebrew for Israelis.
Right.
And the other is an international school focused on global health that's taught in English. And that's an incredible program where students come from around the world and they study, they live in Beersheba. They're Jews, non-Jews from all over the world, and they have an amazing experience. And the 4th year, they do clinical clerkships in 8 global health sites around the world. Peru, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Mexico, Ghana, Ethiopia. It's a remarkable program, and we're very proud of it.
I think one of the other important things about this medical school that Kevin just talked about is BGU's commitment to globalization and becoming a bigger player on the global platform, the global stage.
And medical schools do that.
They do. And there's other actions that the university is taking right now to increase that presence. One is as we know, we have the $400 million endowment for the Marcus campus, which we were able to name, and now we're able to build across the street the new North Campus. And on that North Campus, which I'm going to talk a little bit more
And that was the
later
largest
tonight,
donation in the history of Israel.
right, to any institution.
Bravo.
Yeah. We are building a new campus across the street, but part of that is we want to have not just an international student center, but we've also just received funding for building a whole new entrepreneurship center so that we can attract people to study entrepreneurship and not just practice it, but really study what are the skills you need to be an entrepreneur,
Right.
including an analytics course.
And the fact that the
Fight with the
university
professors.
has made this a priority, that's one of the first things that's going to be developed on this new North Campus is pretty great.
Because entrepreneurship really has driven Israel over the last 25 years, startup nation. It's proven to be a game changer for Israel, this whole startup nation concept and entrepreneurship. So I think the school's recognizing this and trying to ride that train.
Well, we
to
are the
everyone's
startup
advantage.
university.
You are the startup university, that's true. And Israel does have an unprecedented track record for entrepreneurship. I think the IDF training has made it unique in terms of how people look at entrepreneurship and success and failure differently than, let's say, Americans. And so Americans are now learning from Israelis. I mentioned also, the scientific endeavors. I know I was in New York recently, and I've seen other presentations where some of the scientific work that you're doing on in terms of neurological work. Could you talk a little bit about those things before I go? I was quite taken by it, and even some of the women's studies, which I thought
Yeah.
were innovative.
The gender
If
equity,
you don't mind
yeah.
mentioning that to our listeners, I think that's important too, because you're really trying to stay on the edge, aren't you?
Absolutely. And the brain research, the neurological research is really remarkable. We just featured three of the researchers last week. They were in the United States. Everything from trying to repair leakage in the blood-brain barrier to autism. The university's autism center is also Israel's national autism center, and they're doing incredible work trying to identify biomarkers early on to identify autism in newborns.
It's wonderful work, important work.
Very.
You wanted to mention the Women's Center. Would you do that as well, the women's work?
So BGU has a really long history of striving for gender equity, starting with our former past president, our immediate past president, Rivka Karmi, who was the first woman ever to head an Israeli educational institution in Israel, ever. Ever. And for her, that was a really big deal, was how do we make women in academia, a going concern? And there's a budget item, a budget line in BGU's budget for gender equity, and we now have a whole office on
Because
gender
we have
equity.
gender equity in the United States for sports, but not necessarily in education.
Not in academia.
Right.
And we see how much women drop off after a doctorate because of various reasons. But, the subtle discrimination that exists in that field, in academia, is something that women around the world are struggling with, and even very much so in Israel.
Right.
And so the university is taking a real stand, and, we heard from our new director of that whole department, and that was
She's
really
great.
exciting. Yeah.
And she's great.
And I'll just add, more than half of the undergraduate students at the university volunteer in the community in and around Beersheba. And there are programs specifically to reach out to young women and girls and get them excited about science and engineering and STEM and great programs.
So before we go, if I can, Kevin, I assume you had a life before BGU. Can you give us a little bit about your background? And then Eva, I'm on to you, so I'll give you a little moment to prepare.
My background is I have a master's in social work.
Right.
And
Like my son.
Very
Right.
nice.
Right.
Yes. And I've been at BGU now. This is my 15th year, and it's been an amazing journey and a real privilege.
Right.
Prior, I was actually director of development at a health system.
Very nice. And Eve?
I've been
You said you knew me before BGU, so.
I've been in development for 20 plus years, but I have my master's in conflict resolution.
Really? That's why you deal with me so easily.
That is why I deal with you so well.
It doesn't hurt.
But I've been in not-for-profit work most of my professional career, and I was at CJP, the Boston Jewish Federation, for 10 years, and before BGU came and enticed me to go work with them.
Well, I embrace conflict. Everyone who knows me knows that. I try to understand conflict in human because it's a human condition.
It is.
And I try to minimize it and turn it into a productive element. And if people are looking to learn more about BGU American University, how would they find it, and how would they find you two? Because we're now established in New York, in Boston, and all over the country.
That's right.
Yes, we have our website, aabgu.org, and you can find information about our programs throughout communities around the United States and the research taking place at the university, and of course, how to contact myself and Eve.
Yep, on the site.
And I'd encourage all my friends who go to Israel and who are considering going to Israel that if you're going to go to Israel and you really want to understand the country, there's a lot more than Tel Aviv, and there's a lot more than Jerusalem and Eilat. You have to, and the goal and other areas. You really want to go to the Negev, and you want to go to BG University. And so if you're just going to spend a half day or a day and you want to go down, I would contact both of these people to see if you get a feel for what they're doing.
Definitely.
Because it really is a great model. So thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
And
Thank
Radio
you.
Entrepreneurs is glad to be a supporter of American University, BGU. And we're going to take a break. Remind everyone, this is Radio Entrepreneurs.